because if you're carrying that much money and drugs, you're probably going to have a firearm or a weapon on them. The wind is black. You think it's curtains, but it's not, it's flies. But every night we were rolling around with people in pubs, getting kicked in the face. I just wanted to chase stolen cars and see what you see on TV. Don't ask me how to spell, but I'll teach you how to get in a fight. And so my first car had a single blue light on top.
There's no sellotape in Keighley.
You just see things that you're not meant to see. This is the job that broke me. This has destroyed me from inside out. The silence is deafening.
Oh, it makes me hurt inside just even thinking about it.
So they diagnosed me complex PTSD, severe depression and severe anxiety. I got a phone call from bank saying they were going to repossess my house. And I'm just being honest, mate, I'm just half the man I was.
This week on the Debrief then, I've got Ben Pearson. Now, Ben is a former police officer. He's a YouTube sensation. You name it, he's doing it right now. And he's with me today. How are you, Ben? You all right, buddy?
I'm all right, Phil. Thank you very much.
Super.
Thanks
for coming. And you've had a bit of a drive this morning, haven't you? So you're sort of like
Yeah.
a fair way to come.
It is. It's just short of 200 miles.
Listen, the way I like to do this is I like to get right into you, like I am debriefing you properly, okay? And I want to start with Little Ben. And I want to start right at the beginning. What was Little Ben like? What was it like for Little Ben? Where was Little Ben from?
Little Ben was from a place called Saltaire in West Yorkshire. Lovely place to be, lovely village. And I was a cheeky kid.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Good kid?
Yeah, very good kid.
Yeah.
I want to say a bit of a Poindexter. But apple in my dad's eye, I was a bit cheeky, I behaved, I was really what you expect to be a child to be like.
Okay, did you have a stable background family? Was it both
Very
mum and
stable.
Dad, both mum and dad, like dedicated parents, all that sort of stuff?
Mum and dad were still together until they passed away, and I've come from a great loving family, a great background. We were never rich, but we were never poor. Dad always put some bread on the table, so to speak, went out and worked.
What did he do? What did he do, you said?
He was a tiler, a bathroom and kitchen fitter.
Okay.
But yeah, tiler, a ceramic tile technician, he used to call himself.
Ceramic tile technician.
Yeah.
If ever somebody's glorified a job, your dad just nailed that one, didn't he?
Well, I used to cut grass, and I used to get called a turf ecologist. But yeah, ceramic tile technician, loving family, and yeah, I enjoyed my childhood, and I was a typical child of the 80s. BMXs, Atari,
TG. Bit behind me, the BMXs now. I wanted a BMX, but
right.
I sort of like left school by the time they were really in full swing.
Grifter,
yeah, Grifters,
Chopper.
Choppers, yeah, Chopper.
There you go, yeah.
Chopper, there you go. I've been called that more than once.
TG.
That's right, yeah.
It was that sort of
all
lifestyle.
that sort of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I loved it. I had a great childhood.
So, were you any good at school? Were you clever?
No, thick as two shot planks. So absolutely
you
horrendous.
relied on your personality, carried you through. Nice lad, a bit stupid.
I was one of them. Yeah, I was one of them that I got my reports, and it'd be could do better, easily distracted, but good at art, good at drama. But apart from that, can't read and write. Struggle to say. I'm surprised why I wrote 2 books or 3 books. There you go. Just
plugging them already, folks. Hang on, I'll get them up for you here. There you go, plugged. Right, there you go. Didn't take him long, did it? Right.
You got to try hard in these worlds.
You got to try. God loves a trier. I'm probably on your school report. He's a trier.
Well, like then, I even said 2 books and there's 3. That's how bad I am.
He's rubbed himself right. There's only 2 now.
So yeah, struggled at school with reading, writing, arithmetic, dyslexic. But I've always been a forward person. I've always been the one that at the group that come forward and shake your hand first. If you're new at school, I'd always be the one that wanted to do something new.
Did you do any outside of school activities?
The only things we did, I did a little bit of martial arts when I was younger, and just literally BMXs, that sort of thing, just out with the lads.
So you were out all the time. When in those days you could go out to play, couldn't you? It's not so, even now, some of the estates, you wouldn't let your kids out, you know what I mean? But in those days you could go out, you could fall off your bike, you could, do you know what I mean? And of course there was no internet, was there?
No, I was saying this the other day, my friend lived 4 miles from me, and then I remember getting on my BMX, pedalling downhill, down to the river, and I pedalled up, and it was a really big hill. And I got to the top, knocked on the door. Is Alan coming out? He says, no, he's having his tea, come back in an hour. And I'm like, Alex. And I had to drive right all the way back down, go all the way back up. And I sat in the house for like 20 minutes and thought, right, I've got to go now. my dad wouldn't let me use his phone. And we
my mum used to have a little lock on the phone. But those little locks
ding, ding, ding.
on the phone, and you couldn't get it right.
And that's the world we sort of lived in at the time. But I wouldn't change it for world. I remember having 3 channels on TV. And then we went to 4 with Channel 4.
That's right, yeah.
And then we went to Channel 5. There were no Sky at that point. It was just a great time to be.
Yeah, they were good days because, things like the FA Cup final, for instance, that would be a big day when everybody knew when the FA Cup final was on. We would sit. That would be a day in front of the telly for us. Do you know what I mean?
Are you on about kickball here?
I'm on about kickball. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
You egg chasers up your way. You're all
anything with a ball in. I don't get.
Anyway, right, we won't go down that route then. So you don't. Did you get any qualifications at school? Did you do all right?
I think I've got 9 GCSEs, and I think the ICE.
You done better than me then. No, you done all right.
I think the ICE one's a D. I got a lot of Fs and a few U's.
But they're there. They're in the bag, aren't they?
They are in the background, yeah.
What did you do when you first left school?
First left school, I trained with my dad as a ceramic tile technician.
Okay.
And then I went to be a turfiscologist at a local golf club cutting grass.
Someone with dyslexia, you're choosing some big old names here, do you know what I mean? You're doing yourself over, aren't you?
I'm trying to look good, but it's not working. But yeah, I did. I was a manual labour sort of boy.
Yeah.
I started working at 14 in a brass warehouse. They called it guiding brass, and then I went to stack shells in a local, whatever you want to call it, convenience store at the time. It were a corner shop. Tiling and cutting grass, and that's all I thought life was. I thought you get a girlfriend, get an house.
That's it. As
work
long as
within
you've got
a
enough
mile.
for 2 weeks in Skeggy every year, you're laughing, isn't
That's it. I thought it was very Coronation Street life.
Yeah.
You all live on the same street, have your friends on the same street, and yeah, I was very closed in at that moment in time.
When did you start first? I want to talk about 2 things here. I want to talk about when you started first thinking about the old bill, but then I want to talk about your dyslexia and how it sort of like impacted into you doing what you wanted to do.
Yeah. So
when did you first realise you had dyslexia?
I realised when I was at grammar school, that's when it really started kicking in. We were doing things like, I remember doing exercises we had to write a book in English.
Yeah.
And it was starting to get picked up on in English class when I wrote words how I heard them sound, first of all. So would, as in like I would do something, it'd be W-O-O-D. And I started to spell stuff. So there was a difference between dyslexia and dyspraxia as well. And at the time I didn't know. And I only suffer with dyspraxia when I'm in a high-pressure situation. So when I run my advanced motorcycle course, VIP protection course kind of thing on motorbikes. When I'm to say, right, go left on the A66230, and I'm coming towards it at 130 miles an hour. And signs like...
I can see where the nightmare might be. Hang on a minute. Pressure. Leave me alone.
And then I've got to like wait for lads to go, Ben, turn left. And then I'm happy. But yeah, we're at school. We're at grammar school, 12 years old, 13 years old, somewhere around that aspect, around that time. And I knew I had a problem with it. I knew there was a massive issue with it. And then I got officially diagnosed. I know it sounds stupid, in 2011 after a smash at work.
Yeah, see, I was dyslexic. I am dyslexic with numbers, numerics or something they call it. And I never realised until I did my military education.
Yeah.
And the woman goes, and I couldn't do it. And I'm sat there, you had to do like basic maths. And she's like putting this stuff in front of me, and I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm giving it back. She's like, "You are absolutely." And then she suddenly went, "No, there's something wrong here." And then she run this test, and I've done the test, and it's sort of like, "Yeah, you've definitely got this." Do you know what I mean? So it's because in those days when we was at school, you didn't have ADHD, you didn't have all these different things that they've got now. They didn't have.
You were not.
So you were just labelled as an idiot. More or less, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how it was. So you got through your schooling and all that sort of stuff, and that's when you found out a little bit about it, but obviously not to the point that you were too worried about it at that stage. So then, what made you join the police? What from stacking shelves and living your Emmerdale life?
Corrie.
Your Corrie life. Sorry, mate. Get filled in a minute.
I moved to Spain with my ex-girlfriend, and my parents lived in Javier.
Oh yeah, I know Javier.
So my parents lived in Javier. They sold all
Spelt
of them.
with an X. You're doing yourself in even more, aren't you?
Javier.
Javier. I bet you can read that.
I'm struggling like hell already. For everyone listening, I do apologise. So I moved to Javier with my ex-girlfriend, came back, and I started working for a motorcycle dealership called Alan Jeffries Motorcycles.
Oh, okay.
BMW dealership. They had a famous son called David who rode in TT, and he unfortunately got killed in 2003 on TT, but he won the TT several times. So we had a lot of people coming in the shop wanting, Dave in, can see Dave. It's a bit like John McGuinness nowadays and all these famous TT riders. Yeah. So I was selling motorbikes, so the shop always used to get full. And it were always full, ironically, with high-powered police officers. chief superintendents, chief constables, all coming in to want to meet Dave. And everyone I spoke to, I were doing that cheesy, "Hi, welcome to Alan Jeffries BMW. I'm Ben. If there's anything I can help you with, please sit down and let me go through the bike with you." Then they'd all say, "You've got seem to have the right temperament for a police officer. Have you thought about joining?" And in back of me had this little demon, dyslexia, don't say out. And then I got my girlfriend's mum to help me with the application form.
Okay.
Because it was literally, to me, it was just gobbledygook. And then I got a letter back. "Congratulations, you are 1965. You start on the 1st of October 2001 at Bishop Garth in West Yorkshire."
Training, so strange.
Yeah, I did obviously my application. I did my interviews and carousels and stuff. That were it. Just turned up first day in my brother's suit that didn't fit me. I had to have a belt.
Too small or too big?
It was far too big. I had to have a belt and put holes in.
I think that's worse. At least if it's too small, you look a bit hench, don't you?
No.
You know what I mean? If it's too big, you just look like a bag, don't you?
Put it this way, if I turned up with you, and first day when we turned up, you know when you always look at one of those lads in car and you think, "Why is he here?" That's what everyone looks at me like, "What's this lad doing here?"
How?
And it's all up there, mate. It's the intelligence. And then I got in, and I know it sounds stupid. I never looked back. It's like when you got in to regiment and things like that. It made me. It made me as a person. It brought me out of my comfort zone. It brought me out of my shell.
It does. It delivers you as a human being once you finish your training.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think for me, it certainly sorted me out. Do you know what I mean? So, did you struggle with the dyslexia during your training? Did sort of because obviously you got reports to write. Everything you do in the police, it ends up in a report being written somewhere, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was picked up massively at training school. I feel like Excel. We were still taught marching. We had a drills instructor. We had to pull us boots. Everything that was physical, I felt like I did really well in.
Yeah.
Everything that were literally writing statements, doing prep reports for collisions, exhibits. I just write cling film. How do you spell cling film? It's little things like that.
Honestly, yes.
Write a bomber jacket. Write the word bomber jacket. Just no thought in my head how to write the word bomber jacket. Just never experienced, because it's a word you never use. Never used a computer before. Never. I've got first day and they were like, "Open Word," and I'm like, "What?" Or "Open your email." What? And never had a computer before. Well, I'm lying. I had a computer, a Commodore 64,
Commodore 64,
and I had Chucky egg on it. And this was about 1983. And apart from that, never used a computer. So everything was a learning curve that I had to be shown. And when I first started, the typing was literally one finger like that. Just press, look, press, look.
I'm still like that now.
Well,
Johnny will vouch for that. I'll type with my fists.
Big weapons, mash the keypad. But by the end of the 19 years, I could type and not look at the
touch type.
Yeah, I could touch type.
Really,
but I could type in regards to my dyslexia, so I'd know how to type where things were linking in with my head. And I know it sounds stupid. I got some words wrong, and that's where spell check comes in. Yeah. But I'd know where things were in alignment with. That
must have been pretty ninja getting to that stage. You know what I mean?
It's been a lot of years.
I was going to say, you must have really had to put some effort in on that. Do you know what I mean?
It's been a lot of struggling, to be honest with you, because you know the people, the calibre that you're joining the police with, they are, I'm going to say mainly intelligent. They are a certain thing where they can just sit down with a pad and pen or a statement and
they can articulate.
Yes, they can articulate properly. Where I'm a bit like cat sat on the mat wearing a hat, eating fish from a dish. And people are like writing statements and they're saying, "I saw the offender come in and he lifted his arm in a dramatic manner and then thrust down in a violent sensation." And I was like, he got hit with a hammer on the head. And they're like, "Yeah, I didn't say that. I just sign it."
Yeah, mate, I'd sooner have you write a statement against me than someone else. You can't dramatise my statement.
Honestly, I'm literally like, no.
You're going to save me in front of the beak.
And then the biggest time it came down to me, and this is one that I really went back in my shell. I wrote a statement, went to a burglary at a teacher's house. And I was still in training. You have your 2 years training when you're actually in.
Yeah.
And I was being shadowed by this beautiful, when I say beautiful, I don't mean pretty, I mean beautiful woman called Sam. Really looked after me. She knew about what was going on, and I had to do this statement. So I wrote this statement for this teacher, and the teacher picked it up, evidential statement, and she just picked it up and red line. And I'm like, it's not a school report. This is
it's your nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah, you spelt that wrong. You don't put a comma there. That grammar's horrendous. And I just sat there, and I'm a police officer. I'm 25, maybe 26, and I just thought, I just want to cry.
Yeah, I bet.
I want world to swallow me up. And this was still 2001, 2002, 2003. There was still nothing literally like, well, let's give him a bit of a chance. It was literally like, what's wrong with you, stupid? And I'm like, oh. And then Sam took over. Sam did a statement. And I just had to learn. And it's not like, I don't want anyone to give me anything. I don't want anyone to push me anywhere.
Yeah, you don't want dispensation for that. You want to still do the same and not feel that somebody else has had to put the effort in for you. And I get that totally.
So I had to learn, and I had to sit down. I had to back to school techniques, doing lines. I had to look at certain words. I had to look through dictionaries. I had to get to know the lingo that we use all the time, so it became common knowledge. Certain things that you put in a statement, and big words. I had to little things. I know it sounds stupid, like received. You sat there.
Is it I before E or E before I? Yeah. I get that wrong myself now. Do you know
that's
what I
mean? Is it I before E except after C? I don't know. So little words that you start to think about all the time, and that's how it became easier.
Okay, so you obviously got through. When you finished your training, or your 2 years or whatever, what was your job then? Were you just like a beat copper, a normal, like 2 years on the beat or whatever it's called?
Yeah, I was an official beat cop. So we are talking early 2000s. So my first car had a single blue light on top. Bit of proper what you see on Bill.
Could you hear that inside when that was going around?
Proper rotor going around. Wow. And sirens. God. And I had 3 wheel trims. I had 1 wheel trim missing as well. And I'm like, this is embarrassing. But you got your wheels.
What was it? Because they had escorts, Ford escorts, didn't they?
Yeah, it were an Astra.
Was it an Astra? I remember the Astra. Yeah,
it were an Astra. Proper back.
What colour was it? Was it a white one?
White one.
Stripe round all the way around the middle.
Jam sandwich. Yeah, so it had stripe on side. And it were an S-Reg. I think it were an S-Reg. Yeah, it was 1998, but it went from R to S in that year.
Right. Okay.
And 3 wheel trims, and it was shocking.
Do you remember? I mean, it's a criminal. I wouldn't want to get in that car.
No.
Don't arrest me. Bring anything. I'll walk to the police station.
Well,
I'm not getting in that.
I don't know what it's like with you when you were kitting yourself up and you're getting all your stuff, got all keys on board, and the higher you are on the team, or the longer you served on the team, you're all talking young kids on the team. You're all talking probably, oldest one's probably 30, we're 7 years in at that point. Yeah. And then you're going down to 24, 25 with a couple of months in. It's I get the top keys, and then basically me, little lad, comes in, you get the loaner. It's like, that's Ben's car.
That is the jam jar.
Yeah, and then as you progress through the years, you go up the board, so to speak.
Up the ladder. So,
go on.
Go on. Your first collar I want to know about. What was your first collar? Can you remember that?
Yeah, I'd been in I think it was about 9 minutes, 6 or 9 minutes, somewhere around there, and we sat in Debrief, me and Sam, the tutor, and the call came in for a domestic assault, and it's really weird. It's like your first job ever, and you're jumping in car, and it's all buzzy, it's all exciting. I've got my handcuffs on me, I've got my stab vest on, and then literally flying through streets, and I'm just thinking like, this is bizarre. I see this on TV. This is bizarre. Yeah. Then we get to this address, but one of the things that people don't realise is we used to have A to Zs in car because we never had sat navs then.
Yeah, of course not. No.
So they'd say, right, go to Chelsea Street, and you'd be in back. Or page 48, so you got page 48, B2, and then you're having to go flying through the streets at 80 mile an hour, left, right, B2, and trying to find it. By that time, you got
your dyslexia kicking in as well, so you're on the wrong page anyway.
Yeah, well, I were at 32, Common Road in Manchester, where's this?
It's all right, sir, she's dead.
Turned down by a Sanotab. There's no Sanotabs in Keighley.
So you go.
So I got there. Bloke's he's given his girlfriend or wife a bit of an hiding, so to speak, and then she's thrown him out. So he's at front door, brain up front door. Right, so instant breach at peace before we even knew the assault. Got straight out of the car. So I went, right, lock him up. So I got my cuffs out. My hand were like just shaking. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm literally first day on job. I don't know what I'm doing. Cuffed him back, and first things that came out of my mouth were, "You have the right to remain silent." So I did the American caution rather than the English one. Yeah. So rather than saying you don't have to say anything in my harm your defence, I was like, "You've got the right to remain silent. You've got a right to an attorney." I don't know what. But that's when tunnel vision started coming in. Yeah. And I'd locked up within a couple of minutes on my first shift, and I felt really good about it. But again, back in deep end, there's no. Let's take you for a drive in police uniform and get you to know what it's like out there.
Yeah, so it was straight, you're in, crash out the door.
Yeah, and then 2 minutes later you could be brawling around on the floor with someone smashing
angry bloke.
Yeah.
And you're locking him up and off he goes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the police compared to your military and things like that, obviously we are a lot. We're not in as much violent situations or anything like that, but it's just completely constant all the time.
So the military probably don't get exposure to as many fist and boot cases. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's rather. I mean, the lads have had some huge tear-ups, and some of it has gone down to fist and boot. But as a normal run-of-the-mill peacetime soldier right now, you're not getting in that many fights unless it's in a kebab shop.
Yeah, every Friday night.
Yeah, and so you're out there all the time.
Yeah.
Your fist and boot violence. Big blokes, small blokes, handy blokes, idiots.
Yeah. Every Friday and Saturday night in Keighley, it were horrendous. It were brawl night, and it started about 7 o'clock at night till 3 in the morning. And every job you went to, regardless if it were Mrs. Miggins at 96 years old, or a 4-year-old child that wanted to hit you, stab you, headbutt you, or hit you with a bat, and it was just all.
Have you got any that stand out as sort of like that was a tear up?
Yeah, there's a lot. One of them was I won't mention him, but he's gone to prison now for murder. But we were a very successful rugby player.
Okay.
And we had a sector, and I'm not small. I'm 6'2", and I'm about 17 stone. I'm not small, but this lad were a big lad, and we went at it in the middle of Keighley Town Centre, and we were rolling around the floor, and there were people putting boot in as well. And there were a big code zero. All forces came. They did running lines with batons out.
So with someone like that, obviously your main aim really is to restrain him so that he can't do any more damage. But surely there must be the point where actually I've got to chin him. Yeah,
there's a lot of jobs that go to just full on contact. So we'd say, so someone like yourself, you come in, right, put your arms out. If you don't put your arms out, we have a struggle and we go for a bit of a wrestle. But as soon as you start throwing punches and they're landing and they're hitting me in the face, I start throwing punches back.
Okay, so you can escalate so long as I escalate.
Yeah,
okay,
so it's literally, we've gone to bar fights and it's literally like a Western.
Because I have had a couple of roll-arounds, as you can imagine. You know what I mean? And I've probably escalated in that case, then I thought it was them, but no.
No, we totally understand because this is how it works.
Yeah.
But we'll literally put your arms out or we need to lock you up. But my advice for people, where I always used to say, look, you're going to have to come regardless. So you either come with ripped top, bloody nose, and I've got a ripped top and a bloody nose, and we've been rolling on the floor, or you come and I'll sit in front of the car seat, we'll have a bit of banter on the way there, and it'll be a mutual respect. And most people did want to come, but you had that element of people that just would spit on you as soon as looking at you.
Yeah, I mean, you had the alcohol element as well, and it's very hard to talk someone down once you've got them in a hyped-up situation, isn't it?
And no disrespect, but the drunken ladies were horrendous. In a pub, drunken ladies.
I can imagine.
Oh, my God.
I wouldn't want to deal with it.
Because the nails nipping in the back of your neck and your face. And
stupid shoes on, stamping on you.
And hitting you, trying to bite you, and you're like lynched onto you, and you're like, I don't like this at all. But then when you got one of your female colleagues to come, it were always like female colleague would walk in, pulling the sleeves up, then and say, right, opposite female, obviously locking female up.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a pub fight and things like that, it's horrendous. It's horrible. You've got glasses, bottles, chairs, everything's going everywhere. There's broken glass on the floor.
Very often I've seen you'll be in a fight, and other people will be sort of like lobbing things in from all over the place, wouldn't they?
They do, but people don't realise where. I mean, you talk to people and say, right, how many fights have you had in your life? And people might go, well, I got punched in the face as a child, or I've had 6, or I've had this. But every night we're rolling around with people in pubs, getting kicked in the face, and it were horrendous because all we were trying to do is arrest someone or just stab someone.
As policemen, do you do much sort of like actual combat fighting training?
To be fair,
because you'd like to think you can slip a punch and throw a jab and lock someone up. Do you know what I mean? It's like that to me is crazy. Do you know what I mean?
We've there's certain bobbies that I've done certain bits of either boxing or there's certain bobbies we work with that I've do training martial arts, are instructed in martial arts and that sort of thing. But when you go to your what you call your empty hand skills or your operational support, you're doing your batting and cuffs and that sort of thing. I looked at it from a martial arts background. I looked at it from a someone who's has been there, and I just used to think this is pathetic. They're teaching you stuff, and then that would never work. Yeah. They learn it all from a syllabus, and the civilians are teaching you how to be a bobby from a syllabus as well. Yeah. And I just think it's like me coming up to you and say, "Hi, Phil, I'm Ben Pearson. This is a rifle." And this is a gun. This is how you need to shoot. And you're like, well, you've never. So when you're in a combat situation and the enemy's firing at you, get down on one knee. And, but then it even went to civilians teaching us how to T-pack. So civilians have never been in a T-pack, and we're boxing vehicles in. So what you want is an ex-traffic lad teaching you, or you want a traffic lad refreshing
someone
you.
Who has at least done it, or at least trained to do it properly. Do you know what I mean?
But you have civilians teaching you how. And I just think it's bizarre. So I used to say, why do they not give you 2 hours a week to do some sort of martial arts in the building or whatever it is. But no, it's not like that.
So really, I mean, if you've got none of that experience, the only experience you're going to get is on the job, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a friend, Marcus, who used to run doors, and he would say, he's had a fight every night of the week almost throughout his entire 20s and 30s. Like, he's rather good at it now, do you know what I mean? So he had no choice but to become rather good at it. And that must be the same thing. You have to eventually come to the stage where actually I need to move now. And yeah.
There's so many opportunities, like you say, when that's why you see a lot of videos of police officers now, and obviously this is nothing to do with the police because it's what they get taught. Yeah. Why you see so many police officers jumping on one person and still can't control that person. Because they're not taught the correct things, like little things like we used to say years ago in a class. You used to do back to back, so I'd sit down with my back to your back, and they'd say 3, 2, 1. You're not allowed above your knees, and then have a bit of a wrestle. Yeah. And the difference in ground fighting on your knees to someone stood up and me trying to get you in an armbar in a pub is never going to work. But it's what they've been shown to do, and it's never going to work. It's never going to work. So you have to look back on your own experiences and the amount of people I had to have a set to it that were drunk. You don't want to fight because I always say one punch, one kill. They could hit you could go down and hit your head. It could get really violent. Someone gets hurt.
It happens. A friend of mine did God knows how many years for eating someone on their head at the curb and died. It does happen. It's honking.
So all it is restrain, and try and hold until you get other bobbies there to put cuffs on. That's why you don't want to be one of these people that throw someone to the floor. There were a video in America where a police officer pushed an old gentleman at a march. I don't know if you've seen it. This was like 10, 15 years ago. He's banged his head and he's eventually died. Police officer's just doing his job, but he's done his job too heavy-handed. So what we need to do, we need to be fine, kind and respectful to everyone that's out there and say, look, you need to come with us. Please come with us. Let's make it easier on everybody, especially everyone that's sat there watching as well. What we don't want to do is we don't want to have a ruckus at your wife, at someone else. Just please come. But the amount of hate and hostility towards police officers now, it's bigger than it ever has been.
And I think it's because I gauge it because people must be getting away with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't do it in my day. You'd proper think twice before having a tear up with a copper. Do you know what I mean? You think, right, I'll tell you what. Yeah, no, I'll tell you what. I'll leave it this time. Do you know what I mean? I have done when I'm drunk. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But in those respects, you do, unless there's heavy sentences handed out for that sort of stuff.
I think.
Why would you care? And especially the onlookers who are just going to put a sly kick in. And they know they're going to get away with it because they're going to be on their toes down the road, aren't they?
They see a badge on back saying police, and they just think, right, just give them a kick in. Yeah. They don't see that there's a dad and there's a brother and there's a son or there's a daughter or whatever. They don't see that. They just see the badge police. And I understand that a lot of people don't like the badge. That's fine. Yeah. But there's still someone behind that badge. But yeah, there's no sentences handed out apart from if it's a murder or someone's been seriously physically injured by it. There's no heavy sentences handed out. It's just you're part of the job. You're part of the what's needed to be there. So you're not expendable. But the idea being is you're not thought of as someone like that can making a complaint, so to speak, in the public. So
when you finished your beat type stuff, what did you do then? Did you progress through? Did you become a detective or anything like that? Where did you go after that?
Yeah, so I finished my beat. I started tutoring, so someone comes to force. I will like the Sam, even though I couldn't spell. Don't ask me how to spell, but I'll teach you how to get in a fight. And then eventually I applied for the traffic unit, so the roads policing unit, so we're specialist in high performance driving, boxing vehicles.
Was that your choice, was it?
Yeah.
Why, just because of the motorbike stuff? You like vehicles, obviously.
Yeah, I love smell of two-stroke. Yeah. I love anything with an engine in, even a lawnmower. All my friends went to firearms. Everyone wanted to carry a gun. Everyone wanted to be part of the elite, carrying the firearms. And I just wanted to chase cars. I just wanted to chase stolen cars and see what you see on TV. Smoke coming out the back tyre out corner, drifting it round. It's not like
T-boning people, flipping the back wheel out.
Yeah, you can do that. But yeah, so I joined traffic and I never looked back. First day, turned in, here's your T5. So I want an advanced driver. You could drive on a grade 3 permit. Yeah. So you come with me, we teach you how to drive off the job. So I got my T5, a tutor called John, and that were it. So I went out and learned the craft, and it's such a hard craft to learn. And it's only when you become qualified you get your white top. So it's kind of like when you get your beret, you get your white top, and it's when you get out of a car and you put your white top on, everyone's like, oh, Christ. So even when Bobbies have bumps, if you go to a Bobby who's had a bump and you get out and you don't put it on, they're like, Ben's here. Right, I've done this, and other. And you're like, right, fine. But if you get out and you put white top on, they all go, oh shit.
Yeah. This is different, Dibble. This is like he knows what he's he knows what he's doing.
This is all going wrong now.
You get your white top. What sort of stuff were you doing now? It's not just speeding and stuff like that, is it? So what were you attending now?
So the main thing traffic cops do is have to attend serious or fatal road traffic collisions. So
you must have seen some.
Yeah.
We'll talk about what you've seen
in
a bit.
You can ask me anything as well. I've said before you can ask me anything. Right. But yeah, anything fatal or potential fatal. So potential fatal doesn't just mean one thing; it means everything. As in, it's like you got there and the heart's still beating, but they're missing a head. That could still be a potential fatal until the life's extinct. So that, yes, we have the pursuits, but we were the main, how can I put it, main line of resistance from the burglars and the criminals. So every criminal has got to get from A to B.
Yeah.
So what you do is you go out as a unit then and you go hunting in packs, and we'll get the intelligence, so-and-so's using this car at this time, he's going to commit an armed robbery at this place.
And nowadays you've got ANPR and all sorts of stuff on the lookout. Yeah. So it's permanent. There's as soon as something gets triggered, you're into the area and you're
then pursuit, boxing, but we're working then we work with MI5, National Crime Agency, Customs. We get all this.
So if an agency's got a serious crime in your way,
and
obviously they can't have manpower everywhere, what they do just second a few of you and go, right, serious crime are coming up here, boom, we've got this info. That's the way it goes, is it?
So they'll ring us and say, we've got this nominal coming into your area, he's travelling with just say £1 million in bill, he's doing X, Y and Z, he's got so much, he's only a runner, he's not, so a runner's basically someone that's been paid to go from A to B.
Yeah.
They're not a major organised crime nominal. So chances are they won't make off, but there's always that chance. So they might be paid £1,000 to travel with £1 million in bill kind of thing. And he's going from A to B, we want you to box him in. So we'll box him in with hard tactics, because if you're carrying that much money and drugs, you're probably going to have a firearm or a weapon on them.
Yeah.
And if it's not going to be an armed stop, it's down to us to do it. And I'll give you one idea. I think it was something like £400,000. We got this information that this lad's coming to our area, plot up at a certain location, so we plotted up. And we sat behind this petrol station on this road who were meant to be coming down. So we're all lying in mind, all tactical units, all in his vehicles, all tack gear on, ready to rock and roll. And they're tailing him, I think it was National Crime Agency and Customs. And they said, he's left. And, he's pulling into the petrol station. And we're all sat there in car. And he pulled in and just looked at us in the car. And he's like, just gets out and fills up. And we're like, what do we do? He's busted us, what do we do? So we just literally drove round at 2 miles an hour. And, hello, mate, you all right? There, we want money in back seat. Yeah, I'm all right, it's all in back seat. Just goes to show that they all don't want to run. It just goes to show right place, right time. But the amount of, obviously, like with things that you've done, I can't tell you about, but the amount of information that comes into back office, what's called back office, it's astounding. And then it's down to filtering down what's going to be either credible, usable, or practical.
You can actually use them.
Just say, for instance, you got intel that a car's coming through with an armed robbery in it. He's not committed the armed robbery, it's going to have firearms in, but it's coming through at 110 miles an hour. Is it practical for us to get behind him on motorway, or do you send a helicopter up? It's little things like that. So you've got to
weigh up the job and what it is.
When someone comes into Bradford,
it's got to be in the public interest as well. There's nothing in the public interest of you adding another car to doing 110 miles to potentially smash yourself into a siding and take someone out.
That's the idea. So you've got to decide but the amount of things we were doing were, like I said, burglaries. Then we have certain initiatives such as speeders. There's a massive thing that kills people now, and people say you don't need to be doing this, but it's seatbelts, drugs, drink, speeding. And
phones must be up there now as well.
And mobile phones.
Mobile phones must be right up there.
But what they don't say to you is, have I been stopped doing on my mobile phone? Go get a real job. But it's not that. It's the crash. It's the crash when it finds there's been a detected mobile phone, sends in so all your insurance premiums that go up, and you go, why is my car insurance going up? Because that lad that were on mobile phone. And that's what's doing it. The lad that hasn't worn a seatbelt, that's gone through the windscreen, that's now had £10 million paid out because he's lost use of his legs and his left arm because he hasn't worn a seatbelt. That's what you're paying for. So that's why they want us to cut. It's not they want us to go get the figures. It's because of the money it's putting back for people like you on your car insurance.
Yeah.
And VIP escorts or Cat A prisoners, and it was non-stop. You got in on your day, say Monday morning, 6 o'clock.
You didn't know what was coming.
You got your keys, and within a couple of minutes, it's all gone wrong. But gone wrong for the positive reasons.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to do this, this, and this with you today. And literally, we've got a car just stolen, a burger, it's coming into your area, and it's coming down towards Eschel. Get behind it, big pursuit. Next thing you know, it might have some firearm in boot. Next thing you know, it's led onto a big firearms operation. Stand by, Prince Charles is coming into area. We need this, this, and this. And it's all gone wrong. And then, but literally 12 hours later, you sat there and you still got all your work to do from the day before.
yeah. Still get you hadn't even signed for your petrol.
No, and you think, just come in and do it all again. And then that's it. And we loved it. We love the job. It's fantastic. And yeah, there's a lot of people that do it at the police, but to be able to come in and help people is brilliant. And
what I want to concentrate is on the helping side of people now, because there will be people watching who are of a certain ilk who'll be going there. So what? Yeah, do you know what I mean? I know that I'm not naive, all right? And they'll be there's the old Bill and all that sort of stuff, right? Some of the stuff you see is horrific, at least, and I want to try and get some of that stuff out of you because I want people to understand what it is that you go through as a policeman on behalf of other people, because you don't want to see this stuff. Nobody wants to see this stuff. So can we talk a little bit about some of the accidents you've turned up to, some of the stuff that you're saying, if it gets grisly, we can stop. But do you know what I mean? I'll go as far as you want to go with this.
I'll go as far as you want to take me to that.
I'm happy to go. I'll go all the way.
Let's just throw a few quick jobs out there. So people that want the mentally poorly, and the first thing they do is want to jump under a train. So that person is literally, when you describe the body is unrecognisable. You can't describe it if it's a person, if it's an animal. There's nothing to say that's a person. What we have found at that moment in time is probably a finger, what we think is a finger. So we, as the traffic cops, have to go. We've got specialist fingerprint devices.
Absolutely, just been a pile of red mist and a few bits and pieces that resemble.
We've got to go and
a butcher's block, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got to go fingerprint and start helping clear up.
I mean, just picking that up is a horrendous thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And like that, so you've got to pick up what you think is the hand.
Yeah.
When you're surrounded by other parts of all the body, brain, internals. I'm sorry if I go too far with it.
No. I want you to.
Yeah,
I genuinely want to, because I want people to understand this.
Pulling people out of cars on fire. Pulling people out of cars.
Have you pulled someone out of a car on fire?
Pulling people out of cars.
I mean, the scream must be horrendous. I mean,
pulling people out of cars that literally are dead, but you're trying to do CPR on them, and in the car there's children, or there's mums and dads, and you're trying to having 14-year-old kids dying in your arm, having young children dying in your arms.
You've obviously experienced all this stuff that you're saying.
And the hardest one that I've had to deal with is after my mum died, the first day back at work. Literally the first day I got told to go and hide in a traffic car. I don't know how you can hide in a 2-ton marked traffic car with chevrons on the side and blue lights on it, but I did.
Yeah.
Call came through X-Ray Romeo 52, just to make you aware, this is in my book. I'm not plugging it, but this is in my book.
Yeah, cool.
X-Ray Romeo 52, can you go to a child knocked down round the corner? This is the job that broke me. This has destroyed me from inside out.
Yeah.
I said no, but they said there's no other traffic in the area. I'm not meant to be doing no. I've just laid my mum to rest. I'm still, literally, I'm not even mourned. I'm still messed up. Turn down the corner, and there's a I want to say chevron of cars, so it's not really an echelon of cars or whatever. And they're all pulling you through. Traffic cops see you now. White cap goes on, that's what I'm coming around the corner. Yeah. There's a 44-ton truck to my right-hand side. 50 metres down the road, there's a 2-year-old boy being decapitated by a truck. He's come out on his bike, or whatever you want to call it, push scooter, straight under the back wheels of the truck, head's exploding.
So there's no head, you can't tell what a child looked like now?
No.
But you've got a body. You've got a body. A child's small, limp body.
Yeah, little Converse shoes on, hands pointing upwards. I got out of the car, started walking towards the child, and it's these dreams that you have where you're walking through treacle, or you're sinking into the floor. Started walking towards this little boy, and I had this pain go across my chest, and it pulled really, really tight, like an elastic band, and it just snapped. And I just stood there crying.
I can't, I've seen a similar thing, but
and I thought, how much is this stuff after 19 years you're meant to see day in, day out, fatal of everything, and put an assistance call out. Now, there's a term in my head when I don't want to lie about something, but I had my high-vis jacket on, police jacket on, and then when I got removed from the scene, I didn't have my high-vis jacket, and the little boy was covered up with the high-vis jacket. So I think before I've pressed the emergency button, I've covered him up and then walked back. And then I remember firearms coming, they're TAC med, so they're like paramedic standards, the TAC med. They just went out to sea and started crying. And it's little silly. You just see things that you're not meant to see. People that have been.
No, and this is on a normal day when you were going to do a block and stop or whatever on somebody else, and all of a sudden you've got a dead child. I mean, look, everywhere I've ever been, I've been expecting to see probably something like that possibly happening. Do you know what I mean? Northern Ireland might have been a slightly different, but you aren't expecting to go and see a dead 2-year-old, you say?
No, 2-year-old, yeah.
And that is just it makes me hurt inside just even thinking about it. Do you know what I
mean? I was then left in the station just to do the paperwork. I was sat in an office on my own. The silence is deafening. It's really weird. And all you can hear is buttons going into the keyboard. And I was just crying, just constantly crying. Then I had to go home, and I've got a 2-year-old daughter at the time. I had to go home and just play with my 2-year-old daughter and look her in the eyes, and she's just playing, rolling around with me. And it just ruins everything in you as a good person. It just takes away all your goodness. But there's people like, again, people that don't see. We forced entry on one door. Gentlemen have been in front of a hot fire for, I want to say, 3 weeks, and it just literally it was black, but it was literally that bad that you had to use a shovel and a bin bag. There were nothing substantial in bones or flesh or anything. It's just bodies and
just completely like decomposing, but obviously would have bloated at some stage as well.
But no one's doing it. You've got to do it. The wind is black. You think it's curtains, but it's not. It's flies. It's no one does this. But everyone says all coppers are bastards, but they don't see this. They don't see
that's why I'm so keen to get these stories out, because I think people have to understand what it is you go through on a daily basis. It's not just you pulling me out of a pub because I've been an idiot. Because I've been an idiot. Do you know what I mean? You're attending stuff that nobody wants to see. And
not only is what you want to see, but it's what you do as well. So I'll give you this as well. So I think it was 2 brothers and 1 cousin went to see a football match down south, came up and ended up getting killed on motorway in a crash. I got the death warning. They call it a death warning. And I don't understand, but it's called a death warning to go do. So I had to go knock on one parent's door.
The death warning is a high probability that
they've gone.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll call it a warning because you don't know until the identified.
Okay.
On the coroner. So basically, we go knock on the door, and we've got to say to this man and woman, your 2 sons aren't coming home because we believe there's been a car crash. This is the car. They know their son and cousin have gone down to London. They know it's their car. But until they do a formal ID, we can't say. So we said there's been a car crash. 2 people have been killed. We believe it's your 2 children. These are the details, blah, blah. So you've got to knock on doors, and you've got to deal with the parents.
How do you even approach that door?
Again, so we sit down. So when I was tutoring, we sit down and we say, make yourself look smart. Make sure you smell nice. As in, when I say smell nice, as in you don't have kebab on your breath or you don't have something dripping off your chin, because they'll remember everything. They'll remember that little grey hair that's coming outside your face. Yeah. They'll remember your tie being on crooked, because we had ties at the time.
Yeah.
They'll remember everything about you. They'll remember that point that officer knocked on the door. They'll remember everything about you. And then when you're walking up to the door, it's really weird that you've got knowledge that they don't have.
And it's the worst knowledge. It's the worst thing they ever want to hear as well, isn't it?
It's not like you're knocking on someone's door and say, I've found a cure for cancer. I've got this knowledge that you don't have.
Yeah.
It's that knowledge that's saying, I'm going to change your life forever. I'm wondering what they're doing in the house before they open the door to you. So you knock on the door. First thing you do is identify yourself. Good evening, I'm Ben Pearson from Road Traffic Unit at Bradford. Am I right to come in and speak to you? Most people don't want to let you in because they think you're going to give them a ticket or whatever. Are you so-and-so, mother and dad of so-and-so? Yeah, right, can I come in?
Is there a point where they sort of like realise before you've opened your mouth to tell them?
Yeah. So you must
recognise that point.
Yeah, well, this is the idea. So we dealt with the kid, we dealt with the mum and dad, and then we had to go tell... because it was 2 brothers and a cousin. We had to go tell the cousin's partner. Now, the cousin were a serving army man. I don't know if he were an officer, but he was in forces serving. And he'd had a little boy, I think boy was 3-4 months old, something like that, and they'd just got married. And mother and dad had phoned her to say this, and she thought it were a joke. She were having a massive house party at the time. Traffic cars come down the road. She's seen us get out. I've put my white top on, and she's just literally gone ballistic, screaming around the house, running around. But then all the people at the party thought it will come in to lock her up or something. So next thing, this whole party's trying to start on us and fight us at the roadside, and we just need to get in, give them a cuddle, outline the fact of what's going on, give them the information, give them all the contact numbers for the coroner officer, and then we had this barrage of 20 lads wanting to smash his face in. And we're trying to give them. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing to be able to do. And then you've got to live with that. You've got to live with that.
Yeah, so you take that away. Everybody else goes home, and obviously some people don't get the result on the day that they want and all that sort of stuff. And I get that. But what people don't understand, if you've got to go home and live with that, you've got to go and sit with your daughter, and you've got to go and sit with your missus or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And you've got to think to yourself, how do you do that at night? How do you sit at home and go?
I had a lot of friends in Jack and Daniels.
You can't just. And people go, oh, just switch off. Don't take it home. How can you not take that home? Do you know what I mean?
I've had a lot of people that have questioned certain things that I've said and done over the years, and one of the things like, well, it don't affect me. Why does it affect you? Or You shouldn't. This is the job you're in. But hang on, you're a human being. What human being is meant to be processing the sight of a dead child? What human being is meant to be processing the sight of someone burning, or the sight of someone missing arms and legs and whatever, scraping someone up from a roadside? And you can't. You can only you bucket, or I call it a rucksack, can only get so full. And after it gets so full, if it doesn't get emptied, it affects you mentally, and then mentally affects physical. And it's not something you can live with. If you don't talk, luckily our lass is a detective sergeant in CID, and we do talk about a lot of things, but at the time, before our poly, you don't talk about things. It's a man's culture. It's literally...
I went through exactly the same in the regiment. You know, I mean, it was almost taboo.
You're weak.
You felt like... It wasn't that. There was a fear from me that if I spoke about my mental health, my position and my status would be affected by that. Do you know what I mean? I.e., you're going to get RTU'd and you probably never pick a gun up again. That sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Well, that's the two things that I'm the most scared of. Yeah. Do you know, that's the two things in my life I don't want to happen to me.
We were same with our permits and what the roles we had, because you'd worked so hard. You worked 2 years to get your cap, and then from say, right, we're revoking your cap, we're revoking your permits. You're not part of this. You're not part of that. And we were exactly the same. And it's a thing that, like I said, you're weak. You're not a real man. There's something wrong with you. Why can't you do it? And it's one of those things where, hang on a minute, we're here to help. But there's only so much we can deal with ourselves. And after 19 years, and this is like, don't forget, this is in traffic.
Yeah.
Before that, you had the time of being on beat, so you were dealing with like normal house fires. You were dealing with people hung, people that have been murdered, people that have been just your normal sudden deaths. 8-year-old older or whatever.
Yeah.
Your
Again, it's your bag, isn't it? There you go. Someone dead in the room. Well, it must be the police's fault.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, and it's just not a nice place. It's not what you call a positive place.
Yeah,
it's a negative place, and it's hard. It's hard to live with. But these are why we sign up. These are why Bobbies sign up. They sign up to do so. When you see people at Bobbies at marches and or whatever, and everyone's like, "Oh, go get a real job," but you've not seen what's underlying. You're not seeing the aspects. And
you've only seen that one aspect of that policeman. Do you know what I mean? And 9 times out of 10, you are going to be turning up. And an ambulance driver said this to me. He's going to turn up on probably the worst day of a person's life every time he turns up.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be good, is it?
No.
So it's negative all the time.
Everything that police, we've always said this, everything that police get involved in with you is a negative aspect. You've either been stopped, you've either been arrested, or you're either being told something really, really bad. And one of them is always the negative aspect of why you do it. I don't get me wrong, 19 years, and I've loved every single minute of it. And
so when you got out, did you get you had some mental health problems?
Yeah.
Is that part and parcel of why you had to leave?
Yeah, I got diagnosed with... I went to a bump, ended up basically peeing myself at a bump, didn't know who I was, what was going on, just had a massive breakdown. So a collision.
Okay.
Simple collision. I was poorly. I didn't know I was poorly. I was struggling. I didn't know what the signs and symptoms of PTSD were.
Yeah. So you peed yourself through fright?
Confusion.
Okay, all right. So
just
you
gone.
meltdown.
Yeah, just gone. Yeah, just
okay.
gone.
Got you.
And then removed from the scene, straight to the mental health. So straight to referral from a GP, straight to the mental health crisis team, straight to the mental health. I can't remember what we call it now. It's like it's part of the crisis team that they use, and they basically said, right, we need to defer you to a specialist trauma care session. The trauma care session, they went, right, we need to defer you then to these other people. So they diagnosed me complex PTSD, severe depression, and severe anxiety. And literally, the best thing for me, and this is going to sound so bad, is COVID. Because when COVID hit, that was my worst. So I spent months in bed. It took me weeks to get out of bed. I got a shower, then I got back in bed. Night terrors, struggling to breathe, struggling to... no short-term memory of things long-term. I've got no short-term memory. Yeah. Can't function on a daily basis through... I'm running on a say, 50% battery. So literally, where you used to wake up and you used to be full of energy, I'm constantly lethargic and tired. Food's off.
Did this affect your family life? What's your missus saying about this?
It's come to the point of nearly ending. I got a phone call from bank saying they were going to repossess my house because I couldn't pay the mortgage, because the police wouldn't pay me after a certain point, but they wouldn't retire me off, but they wouldn't let me get another job. It's very complex. This isn't a dig towards the police.
No.
The police have been fantastic. Yeah. It's just a scenario of what it was and what it was.
Unfortunately, and I see it a lot, there's procedures in place that sometimes are all right on the textbook, but in reality don't work. And it looks like you were caught in one of those sort of like procedures where, well, all right, let him go, don't pay him for a little bit. But that's, in reality, hang on, you haven't paid me for a little bit. I can't get any more work. I've not got any money. It's COVID. COVID wasn't thrown into this mix when you wrote your rule. Yeah. And so now you're absolutely in a place where you're hitting the floor now, aren't you?
Yeah, so a lot of alcohol were involved. A lot of attempts of buying rope, looking at trees, and it came to a head when I was sat on the edge of the bath. I filled the bath up with boiling hot water. I had a knife to my wrist, and I was just sat naked, and I just thought it's just easier to jump in the water, let the knife go from my wrist. I won't feel the knife go through, and I'll be fine. But the main aspect with me is I don't want my kids to find me. I don't want to be damaging my kids the way I've been damaged.
Yeah, not only that, you've seen the effect on other people as well. Yeah. You've seen this all your life, so it's part of the reason that you're there.
And I can't put that on someone else when I've been through it, and I just think that's unfair.
So that was sort of like, that was the thing that sort of like was the last twig that wouldn't break for you. You couldn't break that twig to think that your 4-year-old daughter at the time?
She was 5 then at the time.
Potentially your 5-year-old daughter come, oh, look, Daddy's,
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been...
And that
so that's kept you alive, really. Yeah.
And then literally came out of the police. I've had a lot. I'm still having therapy now, so I'm still on CBT now, and I'm still on a high dose of medication, which is citalopram, just to keep me on an even keel. If I don't, mood swings, my memory goes even worse, my diet goes off, violence towards myself.
Self-harming?
Not self-harming, but violence towards myself, as in punching. It's easier to fight with myself than it is to fight with other people.
Yeah.
And I'm just being honest, mate. I'm just half the man I was. I mean, it's all right coming in here and you have your thing of being, I'm Ben Pearson and I've done this and that.
Yeah.
But it's just hard to think of who I was before all this all started. And I feel like I'm doing okay after the police and what we're doing for us PTSD awareness.
Yeah.
But I'm not who I was as a person, and I'm not that kind of person that if people say, "Oh, you're an alright lad," but I was twice as good before old Paulie, and I just want to be.
But this is part of the process of getting better as well. You know, I wouldn't say you're spent, so I wouldn't have that attitude that after man, I'm going to be after man.
No,
you are moving forward, aren't you? You're doing great stuff. You've written books. You know, your YouTube channel's moving. You know. We're here chatting, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're out there, so people know about what you're doing. And I think what you're doing is incredibly brave. Can we talk a little bit about this 1965 PTSD? Because that, again, is an initiative with you, I believe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so, again, back to being half the man. I'm half the man, but I'm twice as pushy. So I'm pushing.
Well, there you go. So then you get quarter of the man back already just for that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You're 3/4 of the man, then we'll say at the moment.
Get in there.
I'm building this one for you, all right?
It's still only that big, though. So I came out of the police, started a YouTube channel up at the request of my friend.
And this was the Interceptor stuff. I know I've touched the television stuff.
You've not touched the TV stuff.
Interceptor stuff, because I guess all that's out there, and I didn't really want to go with that straight away, but we can touch that in a bit.
Yeah.
But the TV stuff was done while you were still serving.
Yeah. But
okay, cool.
That's my worst point. That's when I was dying inside. Okay. Everything was fake on TV. I was laughing and I'm like, yay, jovial man, yay, you're living the dream. And I'm like, I'm dying.
That's a massively interesting thing, because I do the same. I've had a few personal complete tragedies. Just, stuff happens like that. Yeah, I have to maintain this on Facebook. Hi. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You put the phone down after you've made your selfie or whatever it is, and you think, fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? And
I remember
it's horrendous.
The book went to #1.
Yeah.
And I remember afterwards I put my face in my hand and just went, I just fucking want to die. No matter how good you get or whatever happens, you still have your demons at night.
Yeah.
And no matter what goes on, you've still got to be that next day. Hi Phil, I'm Ben, nice to meet you. And my demons are my demons, they're not your demons. So I'm not putting my negative onto you, I'm putting my positiveness onto you. But then when I still go back like last night in a hotel, I'm sat there thinking like, fucking hell, this is hard work.
Yeah.
But I want to be a voice for people to see that they can progress afterwards and they can make something good.
That is going to be part of your recovery, I believe. You know what I mean? Doing stuff for other people is a massively powerful thing.
Yeah.
It's hugely powerful.
And I love it. We'll
go back to the PTSD 1965.
Yeah, so in regards to we did all that, and then I've always wanted to. I used to, obviously, I still wear. I always wear Forceware HQ t-shirts, and I've always worn them. I wore them in my video, PTSD awareness, and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So one of my friends says, "Hang on a minute, if you're wearing them, why don't you create your own?" and let people see what you're about. So 1965 is my collar number.
Okay.
And then obviously like code 11 means off duty. So 1965, we thought, right, hang on, it's 1965, PTSD, and obviously awareness. And I know it sounds stupid. What can we get out of this, and what can we make people understand? So the biggest thing was, we just wanted to make it a simple idea, a simple brand, and just say, look, this is the idea. We'll make these clothing. So all the profits from my first book went to Kaleidoscope Mental Health Group.
Okay.
And we said, well, why can't we do it where we make the money and push it on to other people and other ideas and other things, so they provide the services for what the money we raise. So we started making the clothing. It went stratospheric. It sells all around the world. Everything we make does really, really well. We're in contact with UK Cop Humour and all these other people. And then what I do now, I lecture UK-wide. I lecture to all the forces, police forces and other things. I started my podcast up, and it's basically about saying, when I was poorly, I had no idea what PTSD was.
Yeah.
So now I say to people, people understand ADHD, like you said, people understand dyslexia, people understand depression, but not a lot of people understood PTSD, what it was about. People just thought PTSD, and obviously no disrespect, but thought it was just armed forces and something that happened in Vietnam War.
They think it's going to be a drunken squaddy in a pub beating people up for no reason. That's what they think PTSD is. You know what I mean?
But they don't think about, what about all people in Grenfell? What about people at Manchester bombing? What about all people that did other things? And how it affects them.
And I think sometimes, and I've said it before in this interview, I think sometimes that can be worse, because the people who went to the Ariana Grande concert, they were expecting a great time with other children, having a great night out, and it ended in a catastrophic battlefield scene with arms and legs, and don't even want to think about it.
No, I know.
And that is horrendous. You know what I mean? That's not sort of, you didn't say, right, I'll tell you what, just be a little bit prepared just in case. No, you didn't. You went, go and have a great night, kids. And all of a sudden it's ended up like, oh my God. And that, for me, is even worse. And
people don't know the signs and symptoms. Yeah. People don't know. They say, oh, it's been okay, but... And then so what we do is, when I do the lectures, we try and tell them, this is what happens. This is how things are. This is what your body does. This is how you react. And that's all it is. We don't get paid anything from it. Nothing we do it's non-profit. And all we do, we either pay for PTSD 999, which is run by Gary Hayes and Darren in the Met, and they do all the lecturing, first aid awareness. We give the money then either to Andy's Man Club or other charities, and the next one we're doing an event, and it's going to the Harrogate Police Treatment Centre for mental health. So it's just about putting money back into the system, helping people that way, but making sure you're aware of any signs and symptoms that come out.
I think it's only by talking about this sort of stuff that people can understand it. It really, I try and do the similar thing with the military. I mean, and we're now doing it with this as well. I mean, I want people to talk about it. I want people to watch, and it's important that people listen and understand, because if you don't, you're not going to talk about it. You're not going to be encouraged to talk about it. Not only as you talking about it, I need the people around you to understand it.
Yeah.
Because unless I understand it, I was always scared to talk about my mental health, purely because I thought people were going to fall. And I was a naughty kid, and I've done a few things that I'm not proud of, right? But I always thought, if I go down to mental health, they're going to think he's just looking for an excuse for that time.
Yeah.
He smacks so-and-so. It wasn't that at all. Do you know what I mean? It's just, so I think what you're doing is hugely important.
Thank you, pal. Thank you. I just like to say, all the people that do watch and do listen, I always say, if you think there's something wrong, if you think there probably is going to be something wrong. So all these people that I've put some stuff out, and some people put underneath, oh, well, in police and mental health, get a proper job, you're joking and this sort of thing. But they're probably going to be struggling themselves, and it's their output. They don't know how to deal with what's going on themselves. Yeah. So I just said, look at yourself, look at what's going on, and look at how things are with your life and how you're progressing.
It's the funny ones. It's the not eating. It's the disrupted sleep. It's all that sort of stuff. Stuff that I never picked up on. I must not be tired. Do you know what I mean? No. You're not sleeping because there's a problem, son.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's all there underlying.
Yeah. And I think you don't know unless you've been told, do you?
Yeah.
I can't educate myself on something if I don't know what it is.
I was living off cornflakes and Haribo, and I thought it was normal. And I was going,
not at the same time, I hope.
No, well, not far off. But everyone was going, like, what are you having for meal? Oh, I'm having this, I'm having that. Just bowls of cornflakes and then Haribo. And people said, what's wrong? No, what's wrong? And I was like you said, sleep. I thought I was sleeping like 19 hours a night. And I was getting up and I was still tired. But when they do sleep tests, I was sleeping like 3 hours a night. And then getting up and then trying to cover dead bodies and do this. 3 hours a night, and your body starts becoming tired, and you start throwing crap in your face again.
Yeah, tiredness is a massive, I've always had a nap I love a nap in the afternoon.
I have that now.
I love a nap in the afternoon. But if you're napping in the afternoon for, say, 2 or 3 hours, then that's probably a little sign that there's something going on somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Half an hour, 2 tops if I'm really tired. But if I'll suddenly go to bed every afternoon or I can't get up in the morning, there's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And now I'll ask you this as well, because I got told by a mate who's a Special Forces support group, and as with the police, we're technically taught to sleep anywhere, because the fact of if you go on a job and you're in a van for 16 hours, well, you're napping back a van with 6 smelly, stinky officers wearing PSU riot gear, and you've got to get your head down so you sleep quickly. So my thought is, is it something that's to do with that? I just like to have a bit of a nap now and again. Is it one of these things where...
Been, they do. We used to have a thing that was called forced sleep. So if you were going on an operation, or you were going on a job, or even if you were on exercise, if you knew that you were going to be up for most of the night, in the afternoon you were told you are going to bed and you are going to sleep. Yeah. So don't be caught on your... Don't be reading the paper. Someone's going to come by and you will be asleep. Do you know what I mean?
Don't touch that
Shut your eyes, you're going to sleep, son. Do you know what I mean? I don't want no snap going down your neck, no Mars bars, you're going to sleep, son. Do you know what I mean?
Put that sock down.
Well, the sock helps me go to sleep. but that was it, like, do you know what I mean? So, yeah. But all these signs is where we've got this from. Yeah. If you show signs of anything that's not normal, a presence of the abnormal, a presence of the not normal means there's something wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the more we speak about it, for me, it's cathartic for me to speak. Yeah. For me to speak about my illness and then speak to other members of the public, and that's what I thrive off. I thrive off someone saying, "Thank you, I've gone and got help. Thank you, I've seen this." I recently lectured at Norton Motorcycles, and it's just to a group of mechanics and a bit of HR. And the amount of people that have come forward and says, "I'm now seeking help. I've done this. I've got help from that." They're not in forces. They're not in police, emergency services. But again, they've got certain people have got underlying issues, and it's those people we need to save. It's those people we don't want anyone else. That's a son, father, mother, daughter, anyone losing their lives because they don't need to, because someone hasn't put their arm around them and says, "Look, you're safe. I'll look after you and I'll point you in the direction."
One of the things, certainly when I sort of like started to recognise that I had stuff go wrong, just talking about it, just actually going, "I'll tell you what, let's get it out in the open here." Do you know what I mean? Let's talk about this. Do you know what I mean? Because bottling stuff up will never ever help you.
But have you seen that we've never met before, and then the amount of laughs that you have with someone you've never had, but it's all to do with the same sort of scenarios, the background. I talk about health. Yeah. So if I say I've never met you before, and I talk about my name's Ben Pearson, I've got mental health issues, I'm proud to say that. Why can't they talk to their mates? Why can't you talk to your brother and son?
It's getting that first step, and I think this conversation is just pretty. I've never seen you before in my life. Do you know what I mean?
Fancy a pint?
All 10, yeah.
You do beer here?
We do beer here, yeah. But you need to speak to somebody. Yeah. And I do get, I couldn't talk to my missus. Well, you can't talk to your missus. Just pick up the phone and talk to a random.
Yeah. Well, that's what I say.
I mean? There's plenty of helplines out there, but you've got to tell somebody. Yeah. Because it just feels like for me in particular, it felt like I'd stuffed 50 Mentos into a bottle of pop and I'd kept the lid on. Yeah. And all of a sudden, when I did start to talk about it was like, a little bit came out and it felt quite good. And all of a sudden, boom, and it came like, yes, I've told people. Do you know what I mean?
I'm exactly there with you. I mean, the amount of times people just literally, "Oh, Ben in Morrison's, how are you doing, Ben? You all right?" 40 minutes later. And another thing that I've said about this and that and another thing, and like, "Fucking hell, Ben, can you just leave me alone? I only want..." Don't leave me.
Shut up, Ben. Get off.
Yeah, but it's like, that's what I'm saying. Everything you do is about trying to make people live a happier life and a better life. And if we can get rid of the mental health issues within armed forces, we can get rid of emergency services, everyone's going to be a lot better off.
I think it's the fact nowadays you have to talk about this stuff. You have to bring it up to light, and you have to recognise it in other people as well as in yourself.
I mean, look at Andy's Man Club. Look how much or how big that's getting now after Luke Campbell has done what he's done. Yeah. And it's going UK wide, and pretty soon I think that's going to go worldwide as well. And the amount of lives that's saved by just giving someone a secure area to say, "Come and talk about me," or "Come and talk to me about your problems," and that sort of thing. So
what are your plans in the future? What are you up to?
You mean after we got drunk, or?
Yeah, after an afternoon, after a heavy afternoon on the lash, once we get out of custody.
Yeah, I'm not bothered about that now. Lock me up. So I still do a lot of filming for Channel 5. I do a lot of police advising for Channel 5, a lot of series. I've been asked to do some film TV work, to do some advising on that, which I'm going to take up on that. And we do a lot of events like Cops and Cars. This Saturday we've got our first black tie charity dinner. If you want to come next year, love to send you an invite.
I'd love to come.
And then obviously, all the money for this one's going to Harrogate Police Treatment Centre. charity auction. We've got people like Man United involved, Leeds United, and a lot of other places. Do you not like Leeds? Who do you support?
I'm a Southampton fan, mate. I can deal with football. I can
whack ball. I don't have a clue. And I progressed doing the social media and the awareness aspect. So all these certain doors have opened. So just say I got an email yesterday from the Home Office.
Yeah.
They now want to work with us about pushing out police things, about getting people to make. But one thing I'm going to say to you now, I'll never sell myself out to any political party. I'm not going down that road. But if the Home Office want help in regards to police relations, I'll gladly help them with that. But yeah, anything. I've been offered a few things in TV, so I'm just seeing what goes on. I've got no plans. The biggest thing that's down to me is my health, and I've been offered so much to do. I'm not going to take it on if it's going to affect me mentally. Yeah. I'd rather take stuff slowly, and if something disappears...
you've got to do what you enjoy. You get to the stage, I certainly try and do things that I enjoy. You've got to be realistic, you've got to pay your bills and whatever, you know what I mean? But if I can do stuff I love doing this. Yeah. You know I mean, I'm actually being paid. This is my job. Do you know what I mean?
You can see your face.
Doing this. I love it.
Can I have a job?
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about it. So, you have to speak to Scott. But anyway... I enjoy the stuff that I do now. Do you know what I mean? I enjoy. I still get to go away. I do stuff abroad.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. Do you know what I mean? And I think, you're saying to me, I feel half the man. But actually, you're building yourself up into being that full man, and you'll probably exceed that. Do you know what I mean? You will get to that stage, I'm sure. Do you know what I mean?
I think there's
you look like you've probably undersold yourself with the half man thing as well.
What I probably have done, but I might say 3/4 or 2/3. But what I think
3/4 I'll settle for.
What I do is I say when I join the police, you might see it same with building blocks, but when I join police, you get taken over by building blocks. Now building blocks are blue, so it facilitates your body and it puts building blocks in. So 100%. Blue. Our police officer affects your life, who you hang around with, what you do, how you speak, where you go, and eventually those blue building blocks. 27th October. I'm 3 years out, so those building blocks are going, and the old Ben's coming back, and I want to be back where I'm 100% old Ben, and then I'll feel probably the man that I want to be again. I
think you're well on the way to doing that. I think you will 100% get there. And some of the stuff
I'll try.
You're making the right moves, but I think you've got to do what Ben wants to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've got to do what's good for Ben. You've got to do what's good for Ben's family. Do you know what I mean? You end up actually thinking there's only a very small nucleus of people that actually are affected by Ben. Do you know what I mean? So Ben's got to do what's good for Ben.
It is, and as long as my family are happy and I can spend a lot of time with my kids, because that's where I've missed out.
Currency for me in a lot of respects is time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Making time, so that I've got time for things like family.
And you realise how much time we don't have anymore. I'm 47 now, and you're thinking
I'm
like
54.
What? Say again. But you don't realise how much time we could have missed out. And I remember working 80 hours a week, not seeing my kids for days, and now it's the other way around, where if you can get by on the right little bit of money and you spend time taking your kids to school, picking them up and enjoy, that's what I want to do. I just want to be with my family, and I just want to make people smile.
Too right. Well, listen. We would love to do some more stuff with you here.
Yeah.
I think you're a friend of the show now. You're a friend of mine, hopefully.
Thank you.
Okay, we'd love to do more.
I love you.
All right. So look, friend of the show. We'd love to do some more stuff. We'd love to catch up with you. And look, hopefully we're gonna watch the 120% version of Ben appear and materialise in front of our very eyes doing this.
Thank you.
All right? Thanks for coming.
Mate, you're a gentleman. Thank you. Sorry for the sweaty palms.
But
I've just been rubbing them on my
That's honking.
Brilliant, thank you.
Nice one. All right.